Hey guys, good evening. It is Dr. Lauren with Restoring Life Chiropractic, and I'm super excited that you're joining me here tonight. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I am super pumped about 2020. I don't know about you, but there are so many things that I have on my vision or manifestation radar this year that I really want to create in my life. And one of those things is actually less anxiety. So I want to just have this really heartfelt conversation with you tonight and webinar to really lift the veil on some of the major causes of anxiety and how they actually trip us up and make us minimize our dreams. So oftentimes we all set out with these wonderful images that we have for our life, right? And we have these seeds that were planted deep in our heart and in our soul for our calling in life, the impact that we want to have not only on people, but on our own family and on our own selves. And what I find is that anxiety is actually such a thief of that. So anxiety can be something that really causes you to minimize your dreams, minimize what you're going after in life or what your vision of your life is, because your capacity to actually handle what it takes to get there or what the daily grind is to get there is diminished. So first things first, let's talk about really who I am, so you kind of have a better picture of why I'm even so interested in this topic. So first of all, I'm a chiropractor. I'm also a mom. I am a mom of three. So I have three kids and two boys. I don't know if that means anything to you, but if you're a boy, mom or dad, it probably or most certainly does. And so I have two little ones, 4 and under, 4-year-old little boy, 2-year-old little boy, and I also have an 8-year-old little girl. So our house is very, very busy. And we have been practicing here in South Arlington for almost 12 years, serving entire families with their health and wellness. I have a focus in women's health because that's just my passion. Being a woman, knowing all of the struggles of womanhood and motherhood, I really love to serve that community. I also have a heart for men too, so don't get me wrong, mister. Not missing out on the love from Dr. Lauren, don't worry. But I do have a huge calling in pediatrics as well. So our office specializes in neurodevelopment for pediatrics and also the health and neurology of women. So now let's talk about the next thing I really want to dig into is what is anxiety and who gets anxiety. With all I just mentioned that I do and love, you can also imagine that my schedule is very busy. I have a lot of demands on my life in the office. I am the CEO of my business, also the doctor of my business, also the CEO of the house, obviously sharing that role with the hubby. But you know, moms, all the meal planning, the checklist, the backpacks, the car pulls. I still, coordinate all those things. So it's a lot, right? So like me, you probably have a laundry list of those things in your life as well. So first off, I would love to know what's the number one thing that gives you anxiety? Comment in this video because I know that we're a lot more alike than we are different. So I would love to know what the number one thing that causes anxiety in your life is. Mine is the anticipation of all the things that I need to do. So literally just the list of things that I have to accomplish is a huge source for me. But next, let's really talk about what is anxiety in itself. So anybody can get anxiety, right? But anxiety is not just an actual emotion. So many people, view anxiety as just an emotion, like I feel anxious. But actually anxiety is far more than just a feeling. It's actually a chemical in your body. Whenever we feel anxious or have anxiety, which can present as that tightness in your chest, it can present in different areas of your body. For instance, some people experience anxiety whenever they, the way that they feel it is like a knot in their stomach or nausea. Sometimes anxiety can even prevent people from being hungry or even eating. They may eat too much to kind of self-soothe. Anxiety can present, as I said, that tightness in your chest. It can even present as a similar to a heart attack. So I've had people in my practice, and I've also experienced in the past that feeling of I just feel like my heart is skipping beats. So literally tachycardia, that increase in heart rate, abnormal heart rhythm. Anxiety can also present as a knot in your throat, a headache, dizziness, all types of stuff. So why is that? Well, anxiety, like I said, it's not just an emotion, it's an actual chemical. When we're experiencing feelings of anxiousness, our body is actually making a lot more stress hormones like cortisol. Our body is making more adrenaline. So because of that change in chemical makeup, our body can have a reaction. We make less dopamine and less serotonin, which are those happy, joyful chemicals in our brain whenever we are anxious or stressed. So just know that anxiety isn't always textbook. I've had so many people in my practice, even moms experiencing maybe postpartum anxiety, who didn't actually identify it as anxiety because they thought it was really a physical manifestation. So just know that it can look different in different people. And for me, when I have anxiousness, it's that tightness in my chest, okay? So one thing that I wanna mention is we know that that chemical component of anxiety can make anxiety manifest in our body. But the World Health Organization actually states that anxiety is the #1 cause and stress. So I'm really putting those in the same category because anxiety is a really strong form of stress, but that they are actually the leading cause of health problems in the United States and even worldwide, which is pretty astonishing because most of us think everybody is just dropping dead of cancer or heart attacks or something super scary like that. But what we often don't understand is that those big things that might take somebody out, that leading cause of death, right? Maybe the top 10 list that we can look at, the underlying cause of almost all those things is stress and anxiety, because stress and anxiety breaks down the body more than most anything else. So I really want to discuss why does anxiety actually hold us back so much? Well, for people that have experienced anxiousness, it is this revved up nervous system, this revved up brain, lots of stress chemicals. Think of that adrenaline and that stress that's just really flowing through your body every day. Once we experience that over a long period of time, what happens is your body just can't maintain that. It gets stuck there and it gets exhausted. When we hit that exhausted mark, that's really when our health starts to tank. We start to become more symptomatic in all the categories. And then another key thing that happens that truly, and this webinar in particular is really about how do we push past that and actually achieve what we want in 2020. So a huge thing to realize is that once we're stuck for so long in anxious mode, our body goes into depression. The reason why it does that, it's really a safety mechanism. It's saying, I've been revved up so hard for so long and so anxious that I need to flip that switch off and I need to take a break. So the brain's safety net to save you from anxiety is depression. So what most people experience is this loop that happens. They go through all this anxiousness, then they fall into depression. They stay there long enough until they finally get almost kind of, and not everybody's this way, but they either work their way out of it, they either counsel their way out of it, or they either really convince themselves to, okay, get your big girl pants on and let's go at it again, we can do it. But this really just pushing through the anxiousness and pushing through the depression really isn't the answer, right? Because that cycle usually just continues. We get tough enough to keep going. Raise your hand in the comments and let me know if you have that mentality of going through that cycle. I've had that in the past and I don't anymore, and I'm going to tell you how I really broke through that. But why is depression such a big deal on how it affects our life? Well, #1, we know that when we're depressed, lots of terrible stuff can happen, right? But in the way that it affects our plans for our life, our vibrancy for life, and really what we're wanting to accomplish this year in January, as we're looking at all these goals and how we want our life to be different, when we go into that anxious mode and then into that depression mode, that's when we start giving up. we really start giving up and backing down on our dreams, on what we know, that vision that was planted in our heart. We know that calling that we have to serve humanity or serve our family or even serve ourselves, which is not selfish. But when we feel like the world is against us and we can't do it, and we have this constant state of stress, then we actually just start minimizing. So if you are someone that starts minimizing your dreams and the vision for your life, you probably start settling. So that's when we go, you know what, this is too hard. I can't do this. I just can't sustain this level of hustle, or I can't really live up to my own expectations to show up in life every day and give my best because I'm too freaking anxious. Like, I don't even feel great. So we start to minimize our dreams, and that's when we really start giving up on ourselves. And the worst thing about that is that when we minimize and when we start giving up and when we start settling, then it actually even undermines our confidence in ourselves. And long term, it continues to create this cycle of anxiety. So what I really want to tell you tonight is that you deserve a breakthrough. Again, those desires, that passion, all of that stuff is put into your heart for a reason, and you truly deserve to live it out and to walk it out. But first, we really have to understand how our brain got wired up into that anxiousness. And then let's go back down the other way and let's unwire the anxiousness, okay? So specializing in neurology, I want to walk you through how does the brain get stuck in anxiety? How do we unstuck it, for a Texas word, okay? Let's unstuck it. So first, let's understand how we get stuck. Well, we know that our brain has two different channels. Literally, our brain and our spinal cord makes up our central nervous system. That is the organ that serves as the computer and the command post of the body, okay? So our brain and our spine create that nervous system. Now, every single thing you experience in life, every emotion, every experience, what does it get filtered through? Does it get filtered through your skin? Does it get filtered through your hair? Does it get filtered through your hands, your face? No. What is the number one organ that every experience gets filtered through? Your nervous system. So that's why we're really going to talk about your brain more than anything else. Your brain is what makes the chemicals of joy. It's what makes the chemicals of well-being and happiness, dopamine, serotonin, all those good chemicals. But your brain is also what makes all the stress chemicals, or better yet, tells your body to make them and then can get stuck making them long term, okay? So I'm not going to overwhelm you with a bunch of terms with neurology, but I am going to walk you through this nifty little handout that I use that just breaks it down and makes common sense. So we're going to dive into that, and we're going to dive into solutions. So first of all, back to the brain. Your brain has two channels it can be on. Okay, so brain and spinal cord is one organ with two channels. The first channel that our body prefers to be on is the parasympathetic channel, okay? For using non-hard words tonight, breaking it down really easy, we call that the brake pedal. The brake pedal channel of the brain is the part of the brain that's in charge of calmness, rest, relaxation, immune function, bowel function, growth and development, and healing, and overall calmness and well-being, good organ function, sleep patterns, okay? So think about all those things I just mentioned. Those are things that your body would prefer to do, right? Your body wants to sleep good. It wants to heal. It wants to feel good. Your body wants to be able to rest, relax, go through life in a calm way. So that system is the system the body prefers, but there's a second system or a second channel. That's the stress channel, okay? Now, most people would say, okay, bad channel, bad channel. It's really not, because it can serve us really well. That stress channel is the channel that if you step off a curb and almost get hit by a car in the parking lot. You need it to activate super quick, super fast, pump the adrenaline, pump the cortisol, and get your booty back on the curb, right? So you don't get knocked out. But what happens is that throughout our life, that channel gets activated super frequently and over long term. There's lots of reasons for that. We'll dig into just a few because literally laundry list, right? But the first way that typically happens is in the US, most of us, over a third of our population, and you may be one of them, I was, is born via surgery. So starting from newborn, I'm gonna walk you through a super quick timeline that's gonna take less than 30 seconds of how your brain got stuck on stress to begin with, and it's gonna make so much sense. So number one, infant to adulthood, I promise less than 30 seconds. Here we go. Over a third of our population is born via C-section. If not, then you had all these ultrasounds and all this input into your brain before you even made it into the world. Then you may have been delivered via C-section, forceps, or vacuum. You also had the chemical components of vaccines throughout your entire life. Not saying that vaccines are bad or good, saying that they have chemicals. Most of the time in the US, we resolve to medication to treat and deal with all of our things throughout our life. So we have lots of chemical stress as well. Many of us have been through car accidents and other physical trauma that can stress our brain as well. So that car coming at us as we're stepping off the cliff, maybe you've been hit by one, right? So those physical stresses, those chemical stresses, again, chemicals, not to mention household chemicals, all those exposures that we have that actually stress our body and test our body. And then the third thing, emotional trauma. Emotional trauma is something that we know we can't avoid, right? This is the human experience. Maybe you had a hard childhood. That's one of the number one causes of stress and anxiety. We can't ignore that. Maybe you went through some very hard or damaging experiences in relationships. Maybe you have lost your job and had hard financial stability. So any of those things, emotional, let's walk it backwards. We all know that category can be very big. I've had plenty of that. We also have the category of physical stresses that seriously turn that stress response on in our body and get that channel going instead of the good channel. Then we also have those chemical stresses. So you can imagine if you wrote down every chemical, physical, and emotional stress you've had in your life that could have wired up your brain to get stuck there. It's an overwhelming list, right? Like only the Lord knows that list. Like we can't even brain dump that out if we wanted to. So just know that it's not your fault, okay? So a huge thing that people have with anxiety and the stigma of any mental illness, and even if it's not, let's not even say mental illness, mental challenges, like we all have that, emotional challenges, there's a huge stigma that can be a part of that, which is that there's something wrong with you. I want to unlabel you right now, whether it's you or your children or whoever that you know is suffering with anxiety or depression or any of these things that can hold you back in life. I want to tell you it's not your fault. Your precious little brain that God created to keep you happy, healthy, and vibrant goes through life, and it's not easy. And because of that, you may be someone who has been wired up in that stress response. And so because of that, your brain is stuck there. So I want to give you a hack that we use in chiropractic to really hack your nervous system and hack your brain and get your brain on this rest, brake, pedal channel that we just talked about, where all good things happen. Rest, relaxation, healing, growth, development, that's the other channel that your brain is on. Remember, one brain and central nervous system, two channels, stress, non-stress, healing, happiness, okay? So how do we actually flip the switch off on our anxiousness this year and really set ourselves up for success? Well, we need to learn how to turn this brake pedal on in this really good, healthy channel more often and more frequently and more long term than this guy over here, right? We've got to outweigh all that stuff that's happened. And I'm going to tell you how you can do that. So I'm going to give you a few tips that you can do. And then I'm going to tell you how we specialize in this and how we do this in our office every single day. And we see people go from literally children and adults stuck in major stress mode, foot on the gas pedal, all the stress hormones, to seriously thriving, feeling better, and unlocking their ability to enjoy life, okay? So let's chat about what you can do. You've probably done a lot of this because if you've been stuck for any amount of time, you've done it. Let's talk about unhealthy things. We know we can stress eat our way through stress. Not a good option. Been there, done that, right? All right, bought the t-shirt on that one. We know that we can drink our way through stress and anxiety, which oftentimes may look like that every night, glass of wine or beer, but it always turns into another glass of wine or another beer. Or we can also medicate our way, which I'm not saying is not necessary, so don't at all feel shameful if you're taking any kind of medication, but you may want to look at turning your body and your neurology on in a good way other than medication. And that's the next thing we're going to talk about, okay? So know that we have people in our practice every day who do get off of medication for stress and anxiety and depression. We don't take them off of it, but because they're functioning so much better, they work with their providers who did prescribe that medication to titrate them down, because now their brain is making all the right chemicals. Their body is not making all the stress chemicals. Their brain is making all the good chemicals, okay? So we know that we can also use medication to help us. We know we can meditate. We can do box breathing. If you've never done box breathing, please YouTube it. Or get one of those stress apps. You literally breathe like 7 seconds in, 7 seconds out, and there's little apps that show you a box. That's helped me a lot. There are tapping solutions on certain parts of the body. There's also exercise. Movement and exercise increases your dopamine and serotonin more than almost anything else can do. So it makes lots of happy chemicals. We also know that you can do talk therapy. You can do all these other things to try to unlock that anxiety. However, many of the things I just talked about are an outside-in approach. They are, how do we actually try to just unlock the body with either food or chemicals or daily habits, which are good. I also want to say that I'm not saying that those good habits, let's ditch the bad, the stress eating and alcohol and things like that. But the good habits you can do for stress, like exercise, nutrition, supplementation, all those things, box breathing, counseling, those are all good, okay? You should do those. But oftentimes there's a big component that is missing, and that is your brain being stuck on that stress channel. We need to get it on the other channel. So I want to tell you how to do that. All the good things we just mentioned will get your body applying the brake pedal. It will activate your non-stress channel of your brain and nervous system so your body can relax, calm down, rest, and decrease those chemicals. However, chiropractic, and the reason why we have the huge breakthroughs in our office with people with stress and anxiety like we do is because chiropractic activates the part of your nervous system, proven by science, the part of your nervous system that actually controls that brake pedal and that parasympathetic system, okay? So when we actually adjust someone, what we're looking for is stress that is stuck in the brain and the spinal cord and the nervous system that is pumping all those chemicals out and keeping you stuck in anxiety and stress. We are looking at where is that stress within the nervous system and how much stress is there. We actually use tests in our office to test your neurology and look at your spine and nervous system and see where is that stress, how much is there, and then what can we do about it. So as we measure that, we get a true measurement of your stress response and if your body is actually lodged into stress mode. And then we go to work. So as we identify where that stress is and we adjust the body, we actually activate the deepest parts of the brain that control emotions, that control, it's called your limbic system or your amygdala. That's the part of your brain that controls emotional stress and stressors. It's the caveman part of your brain, the part that is in charge of survival. That's the part that gets ramped up too much. We actually help to calm that down. The chiropractic adjustment activates the prefrontal cortex, the front part of your brain. That is the new part. It is the part responsible for controlling this really deep caveman survival brain. So as we activate your prefrontal cortex, it actually silences and calms down this deep part of the brain, which is the limbic system, the amygdala, the emotions. Whenever this is unactivated and this bad channel is left on, the amygdala, the limbic system, the emotions is running the show. It also becomes your filter in life. Everything that's coming at you gets filtered through this emotional brain, which is, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew that, of course I got laid off. Of course I didn't meet my goals. Of course I'm having a meltdown again. Everything gets filtered through that. So if you're someone that is in that place, just know that, again, it's not your fault. Your neurology is playing against you. But as we start to ramp up those good pathways in your nervous system, we can silence anxiety, depression, and emotional imbalance. We can activate the part of the brain that helps to control that, which gives your body a natural advantage. It actually hacks your neurology and gets your brain on that good channel so that your brain is working for you and not against you. So again, you can change habits in your life, which you should. You can do all the things like I use oils, I use meditation, I exercise, I do all that stuff. But let me tell you something. You can't oil away, you can't meditate away or exercise away a brain that is literally stuck in the wrong channel, in the wrong mode, okay? Because as we know, your brain is very, very powerful. Imagine all the great things it does for you. We know that nerves and neurology that is wired together stays that way, and we have to really work hard to break that pattern. So to give you an advantage in life, to help to hack the system, and to make all those great habits you're doing actually super effective, we need to fire those good pathways in your nervous system, get the right part of your brain turned on frequently and often so it can rewire. And now the channel that everything in life is coming through is the good channel, the channel that is responsible for balance, for healing, for rest, for relaxation, and for your overall well-being. So with that said, a few things that I wanted to tell you tonight is that in 2020, as you're really looking at what you want to accomplish and those dreams and joys and all those things in your heart that you know that you're set out to do and impact the world and impact yourself, just know that if you can focus more on being in that right state of mind, literally neurology, for those dreams to come true, then what happens is they will start coming to pass. So the more you focus on being, the more you're actually going to manifest those dreams you have in your life. Sometimes we focus so heavily on doing, and that doing can add even more to anxiety. I'm not saying you shouldn't do the hard things. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it scared, okay? Because even if you're scared, go for it. Like, I believe in you, I believe in me, we can do it. But what I am saying is focus on being. And oftentimes, like I said, it starts with rewiring your brain from the inside out. So I just want to empower you to, number one, let go of any guilt or shame that you have with anxiety. Number two, refuse to minimize, refuse to give up on your dreams this year. Refuse to really just fall into the pit of not believing in yourself, because you can do it. When you have those feelings that come back and that cycle happening, now you really know how to recognize it. Number three, do the good habits, ditch the bad habits. Get the vision board out, get that commitment list. Resolutions do have power. Put it on paper, okay? And do it, and have a good support team. But number four, and last but not least, give your body an advantage. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve for your brain to be on the right channel. And you deserve to not be fighting against bad neurology. You know, you don't want to be pushing the car up the hill in your life with a giant weight sitting on top of it. So let's get rid of the things that are weighing you down and pushing you back by rewiring your brain for joy, for happiness, for peace, inner peace, so that you can truly change the lens of your life what's coming at you, but also what's coming out into the world. And you can make this year your best year yet. We had several moms in our practice at the end of 2019, right before we went on our holiday break, tell me, I was saying, hey, what do you want for Christmas? And what are your plans? Literally look me in the eyes after being under care for a few weeks and saying, you know what I told my husband I wanted? I told him that I literally only want chiropractic for Christmas. And my jaw almost hit the floor because as much as I'm like, okay, yay, you want chiropractic for Christmas, what she said next is what I love so much about what we get to do and the impact we have on people's lives every single day, which was that she said chiropractic in the past just few weeks or month, this last month has changed my life. Like I feel like myself again. I feel better. I feel like I can accomplish life and I can be the best version of myself, and that it truly is unlocking something in me that's been stuck for a really long time. And I absolutely live for that because my most favorite thing is getting people unstuck in life, getting their neurology unstuck and giving them their life back. You were born and put on this planet for a reason. You have a calling, and there sometimes are things that sit in the gap between who you are now and who you know that you can be and who you know you want to be. And what I want you to do this year, stop only focusing on who you want to be. Focus on closing that gap. What is in the way? Let's get it out of the way. And number one stop should be inner peace, inner joy, and chiropractic can truly help unlock that in your life. So I really hope you've enjoyed tonight's webinar. I am here to support you in any way. Please reach out if you have any questions. For those that participated and commented, thank you so much. I'll be going back through that and responding to you. If you're watching the replay, just know that still comment, still reach out. We're here to support you. You can look on our Facebook page, our Instagram, our website for more resources about you and your family's health and wellness. And just know that you're not alone. Know that 2020 is your year. You got this, all right? And just focus on unlocking your superpower and closing that gap so you can be the person that you are meant to be. So good night, you guys. Have a good evening with your family, and I'll talk to you soon. See you next Tuesday for our next webinar. Bye.